All right, the Fame family. If you think you've seen every twist this crew can throw, think again. The past year brings the kind of changes that hit quietly at first, and then suddenly you realize everything feels different. We're talking family shifts, emotional curveballs, surprising new chapters, and a few behind-the-scenes moments that might explain a lot. Today, we're covering updates across the entire Little People. Big world cast, so buckle up and let's get into it. Over the past year, Matt Roloff's life feels like it's balancing on that familiar edge between public legacy and private reality, where every change on the farm somehow mirrors something shifting inside his own world. He's still out there in the thick of it, boots on the ground, welcoming people onto Roloff Farms and talking about how much he genuinely enjoys giving private tours. Like the property isn't just a TV landmark, but a living place he's still proud to show off. And in those moments, he comes across calm and purposeful, the kind of steady that makes you think he's trying to keep life simple, even when life refuses to stay simple. Because this year also carries one of his biggest emotional turning points. Matt goes public with tough news and says it plainly. He and Karen Chandler end their engagement and go their separate ways. He tells everyone it's the right step and describes the split as amicable, even as he admits it's difficult. There's a quiet finality in the way he shares it. Direct, respectful, no drama performance, like he's answering the questions before they can spiral, trying to move forward with positivity and trust in whatever comes next. At the same time, the farm itself is still evolving in ways that feel both practical and deeply personal. Matt talks about simplifying, openly acknowledging his age, and how that changes what he wants from the future. He relists a well-known portion of Roloff Farms, an act that instantly lands with weight because this isn't just land, it's memory. In coverage tied to that listing, he describes the property as something monumental, full of magical memories, and even calls it a launchpad for your dreams, which is such a Matt way to put it, half sentimental, half entrepreneurial, always framing change as possibility even when it's clearly hard. And through it all, the seasons keep moving. Pumpkin season culture and themed events are still part of the farm's heartbeat, and Matt keeps leaning into that playful, community-first energy, almost like he's insisting the tradition stays alive no matter what's changing behind the curtain. Then there's the family layer. Quiet, complicated, but impossible to ignore. Around the holidays, Matt is seen in a reunion moment with multiple sons, a gathering that stands out specifically because the broader context has been tension and distance. The image reads as more than a simple Christmas photo. It feels like a small opening in a door that's been stuck. No grand speech, no big announcement, just a visible moment of togetherness that reminds fans this family still shares roots, even when the relationships are strained. And threaded between the bigger headlines, Matt also shows little snapshots of who he is right now, like that beach photo where he's relaxed, shirtless, hair grown out longer than people expect, and he captions it with a breezy confidence, "Livin' and lovin' life." It's a small post, but it lands like a mood. A man who's closing one chapter, reshaping another, and still trying to stand in the sun for a second and mean it when he says he's okay. Taken together, the past 12 months for Matt feel like a season of letting go without letting everything collapse, ending an engagement, adjusting what the farm represents, and allowing the possibility of family closeness to flicker back into view. It's change, but not chaos. It's the kind of year where the public updates are loud, yet the emotional truth underneath them is quieter. Simplify, keep moving, keep the traditions running, and try to trust the path ahead. Right now, Tori Roloff's life feels quieter than the years when cameras followed every turning point. But it's not empty. It's full in a different way. Full of carpool lines, muddy cleats, school songs, and the kind of small moments that hit harder than any big TV scene. As she closes out the year, she puts it plainly and tenderly. 2025. The year I'm just proud of us. Not proud of headlines or milestones that the world claps for, but proud of the everyday showing up, the steady love, the patience it takes to keep a family moving forward. You can feel that real-life rhythm in the way she shares her kids growing right in front of her. In the fall, she's out there celebrating that first day of soccer in 2025, the kind of day that's part excitement and part chaos. Kids tugging at jerseys, someone needing water at the exact wrong time, and parents doing that silent math of practices and dinner and bedtime. She frames it as a simple win. Another season in the books, another sign that the Roloff kids are stepping into their own worlds, one activity at a time. And then there's Lila, shining in a way that makes Tori's voice soften with pride. After a school concert, Tori says, "Lila girl, this was your best concert yet. It's not just a compliment, it's a mom catching that moment when a child crosses an invisible line from, 'I'm nervous,' to, 'I can do this.'" You can practically hear the echo of a gymnasium or school auditorium, the nervous shuffles, the music starting, and then Lila finding her confidence. Tori doesn't dress it up. She just lets it land as something big. At home, the seasons are changing fast, and Tori feels it. She admits, August really did slip away. "I am not ready for summer to be over." It's the kind of sentence that sounds casual until you realize what it carries. How quickly time moves when you're raising 3 kids. How every summer feels like it disappears while you're still holding it. Even when she shares a perfect day, she pivots into honesty with, "Okay, but real talk real quick," reminding everyone that she's not only posting the pretty parts, she's talking straight. Like she wants her audience to understand the real temperature of her life. And the milestones keep coming. She shares that a little one is finished with preschool, saying, "And just like that, she's done with preschool. I'm so proud." That line holds both pride and that quiet ache parents know too well, the way you celebrate growth while your heart also whispers, "Slow down." There's also a brighter kind of "we did it" pride when she takes the family camping for the first time as a 5, calling it "such a fun time camping as a family of 5 for the first time." It's a snapshot of them building something that lasts, memories that don't need an episode, just a tent, a night sky, and the laughter that happens when everything is slightly inconvenient but completely worth it. Still, Tori's year isn't only cozy and sweet. There's a deeper, heavier note when she shares grief, writing, "She was one of the best people I have ever known," and saying she prays she can carry an ounce of her grace and patience. It's a rare pause that changes the air around her feed, a reminder that real life includes loss, and that the people who shape us don't always leave quietly. And alongside all of this, one truth remains publicly unresolved in the background: the Roloff family fracture. In a widely shared update, Tori and Zach are still clear about where things stand with Matt. The line that cuts through the noise is simple and stark. There's no relationship there. It's not said for drama. It lands like a boundary that has been lived in for a while. The world may still attach their names to the old farm story, but in Tori's present life, what matters most is what's right in front of her, her marriage, her kids, the routines that keep them steady, and the choice day after day to protect their peace while they keep growing up anyway. Zach Roloff is moving through the past year like someone who's quietly choosing what matters most, even when the shadow of the old farm story still follows him. On social media, he's not trying to recreate the little people, big world era with big TV-style declarations. Instead, the clearest message is simpler, steadier, and more personal. His life is shifting into a leadership chapter, and he's standing in it with both feet. That shift becomes unmistakable as he frames his current focus around a new role in the dwarfism community. In his own public messaging, Zach points people toward the AAA National Games and makes it plain that this is where his energy lives right now. It lands like a recalibration, less about being a reality star, more about being a public-facing advocate and organizer. And you can feel how real it is when Tori steps in beside him, not as a co-star, but as his proud partner, calling him Mr. Ferdy, president, and writing that she's so proud of this man, highlighting all the work he has poured into the AA national games. It's the kind of praise that sounds like it's coming from the kitchen table after a long day, warm, direct, and full of pride. Outside of their own pages, Zach is also being presented as someone trusted in the community. Little People of America features him in an official capacity, emphasizing that he's not just a familiar face from television, but a longtime member and a dad to Jackson, Lila, and Josiah, someone being positioned to represent and help carry conversations forward. That matters because it paints a picture of Zach building credibility in spaces that exist far beyond the show, choosing impact over spotlight. But even with this forward momentum, the emotional history doesn't disappear. In June 2025, Zach speaks with a kind of careful honesty about where things stand with his family 1 year after the series finale. Some connections feel steady enough to name out loud. He describes his relationship with Jacob as decent, and he says he's on good terms with Molly. And then there's the relationship that still feels like a closed door. Matt. Zach is direct that there's almost no contact, and the tension around the farm still sits there, heavy and unresolved. Tori adds a line that lands with quiet finality. The farm is definitely not a place that we seek out. It's not said with fireworks. It's said like a boundary that's been repeated enough times to become routine. Even after the show, the farm story keeps echoing. When coverage turns to Matt relisting Roloff Farms, it's a reminder that the property isn't just land, it's the symbol of a family fracture. The messaging from Zach and Tori comes through as clear and boundary-driven, reinforcing that whatever is happening with the farm now, they are not centering their lives around it anymore. And in the middle of all the bigger narratives, leadership, boundaries, family distance, real life still interrupts in the most visceral way. In May 2025, Zach and Tori share that their 3-year-old son, Josiah, experiences a freak accident, serious enough to send him to the hospital. It's the kind of moment that snaps everything into focus when the world narrows to fluorescent lights and waiting rooms and that deep parental need to hear the words, "He's okay." It's not about headlines, it's about the raw, tender reality of raising kids and how fast an ordinary day can turn into fear. Throughout the year, Zach's voice shows more range, too. On the podcast, he steps into blunt, practical advocacy, pointing out everyday accessibility barriers tied to dwarfism, like public urinals, and turning something many people never notice into a lived experience truth. And in another moment that stands out precisely because he's usually careful, he shares a rare political or personal statement publicly enough to be noted as bold. Together, it all paints a portrait of Zach right now, still shaped by the past, but actively choosing a different center, his family, his community, and the work he's putting his name behind. Over the past year, Amy Roloff is moving in a quieter rhythm than the chaos fans remember from Little People, Big World. But the emotions still land big, because now she's the one holding the microphone. She isn't teasing storylines or waiting for an episode to air. She's showing up in real time, letting people see the soft parts and the hard parts, sometimes in a single sentence that says more than a whole season ever could. One of the clearest moments comes when a rumor starts spreading online about her father, Gordon Knight. Instead of letting the internet run wild, Amy steps in publicly and shuts it down, calling it fake news. It's the kind of thing no one wants to address at all, especially not in front of strangers, but she does it anyway, because it's her family. And in that response, you can feel the weight of what it means to live life in public. Even the most personal fears can get turned into a headline, and you still have to find the strength to correct it. At the same time, Amy is leaning into a life that feels more grounded, more intentional, and very much her own. Her relationship with Chris Merrick remains one of the steady anchors, and when she marks their fourth wedding anniversary on August 28, 2025, she keeps it simple but meaningful, calling him "this guy," saying he still surprises her. It's warm and playful, but it also carries something deeper, the sense that she's still amazed she's here, still building a marriage that feels calm after years of change. And you can hear that same mix of gratitude and fatigue as the year turns. As 2025 closes, Amy shares a reflective end-of-year reel that doesn't try to pretend everything is perfect. She sounds like someone who has been carrying a lot and is finally letting herself exhale. She writes, hoping for less to deal with in 2026, but also a little sad for what that means too. It's a line that stops you because it holds two truths at once: relief and loss, hope and mourning. Like she's admitting that even when life gets lighter, you still grieve what had to fall away to get there. In between those emotional peaks, Amy keeps building the everyday. She shows up in short reels that feel like quick check-ins, small windows into how she's doing now, where she's at, what her life looks like when there isn't a camera crew framing it. There's a sense of routine returning, local outings, simple moments, the kind of stability that doesn't make flashy TV but does make a real life. And then there's her work, because Amy isn't just reflecting, she's creating. She continues leaning into her little kitchen identity, putting out longer recipe-style content and seasonal cooking compilations, the kind of videos that feel like comfort food in digital form. She even formalizes the community she's built by announcing little membership, inviting supporters into a more direct connection with what she's doing. It's a clear signal that she's doing. It's a clear signal that she's not waiting for TLC to define her next chapter. She's structuring it herself. By the time she rings in the New Year Live with Lisa, the picture comes together. Amy is still Amy, warm, familiar, open enough to make people feel like they know her. But now she's also visibly protective of her peace, more direct when she needs to be, and more honest about what life costs behind the scenes. And that might be the most Amy Roloff update of all, because even in a quieter year, she's still finding a way to keep it real. Over the past year, Audrey Roloff's life settles into a quieter but emotionally rich rhythm, one shaped less by television cameras and more by the steady pulse of family, memory, and intention. As the wife of Jeremy Roloff and a familiar face to little people, big world fans, Audrey spends this season firmly rooted in daily life with their 4 children, and she invites followers into that reality through moments that feel both ordinary and deeply meaningful. By late December, Audrey reflects openly on how visible that realness has become. In a year-end reel she calls her most viewed of 2025, she looks back with a mix of humor and honesty, joking that she's hoping for less to deal with in 2026, while admitting there's a sadness tucked inside that wish. It's a revealing moment. The laughter is there, but so is the acknowledgement that a full, chaotic life carries weight as well as joy. That emotional transparency carries into the holidays. Just days before Christmas, Audrey shares the familiar, buzzy energy of Christmas Eve, capturing the messy excitement of kids on the edge of celebration. It's cozy, imperfect, and unmistakably lived in. Around the same time, she opens up about being back in the newborn phase again with their 4th baby. And it's our 4th baby, she writes, letting the sentence sit with all its meaning. The post isn't polished or performative. It centers on the feeling of returning to sleepless nights and tender moments, aware of how fast this chapter moves. Earlier in December, Audrey reveals something deeply personal about how she and Jeremy are approaching parenting now. They've begun taking each child on solo trips, one parent, one child, uninterrupted. In one of these trips, Audrey spends 3 focused days with their daughter, describing her as joyful, creative, fearless, and articulate. She reflects on how much she learns when everything slows down, when attention isn't divided, and when presence becomes the gift. That idea of presence shows up again and again throughout the year. In October, Audrey and Jeremy quietly slip away to Mexico for a few days together. She shares the moment playfully, calling it sneaking away with this hottie. But the subtext is clear. Marriage still matters. Time together still matters, especially in the thick of raising young kids. Just weeks earlier, in September, Audrey marks 11 years of marriage with Jeremy, recalling the day they began with vivid clarity. The anniversary post feels less like a highlight reel and more like gratitude spoken out loud. Spring and summer bring softer updates, but no less intention. Audrey posts about daily life at home, the tools and routines they rely on, and the rhythms that anchor their family. In March, she shares a tender moment centered on their youngest child, writing about how their littlest one lights up their lives. In February, she leans into nostalgia, intentionally crafting core memories, with a 90s, Springsteen-inspired vibe, signaling her ongoing focus on preserving childhood while it's still unfolding. Outside social media, Audrey's voice echoes through mainstream coverage as well. In a People update about the Roloff family, she speaks about the joy of raising kids past toddlerhood and her passion for protecting the magic of childhood. In another People piece, she's mentioned by Jinger Duggar as the very crunchy friend she texts for parenting advice, a small but telling detail that places Audrey firmly in her current role, not a reality TV headline, but a trusted, wellness-minded mom whose influence quietly stretches beyond her own circle. Taken together, the past 12 months don't mark a dramatic pivot for Audrey Roloff. Instead, they reveal something steadier and more intimate. It's a year defined by newborn nights, intentional parenting, marriage nurtured on purpose, and a willingness to speak honestly about both the joy and the cost of a full life. Jeremy Roloff is moving through a year that feels quieter on the outside, but unmistakably intentional when you look closely at what he's actually putting into the world. Instead of big TV moments, his most recent updates arrive through small, steady signals, shared posts, short videos, and a very clear message that keeps surfacing again and again: slow down, stay rooted, and treat family life like something sacred, not something to rush through. By spring, Jeremy is showing up in Audrey Roloff's reels with that familiar, grounded presence: less performance, more partnership. In April, a simple line lands like a mantra over their season: "You are in process. Trust the journey." It's not said like a slogan. It's said like a breath you take when life is moving fast and you're trying not to lose yourself in the noise. And it keeps echoing. In May, he's tagged again in another reflective reel. The tone still warm and steady, like they're choosing meaning over momentum. Choosing to narrate their lives through values instead of headline. As summer settles in, the updates feel textured and lived in. In June and July, Audrey's posts that tag Jeremy read like a check-in from the middle of real life, the kind that doesn't need dramatic announcements to feel significant. One caption even lingers on the physical reality of work and family: "The beautiful sore hands of my wife." A line that makes you picture the behind the scenes of their days, the practical labor, the constant motion, the quiet effort that never makes the highlight reels but somehow becomes the heart of the story. Jeremy is there in the frame through those tags, not separated from it, but folded into it. And then, in late summer, the theme sharpens into something almost like a vow. In August, Audrey shares another family-forward post, again tagging Jeremy, leaning into that "these are the days" idea. An insistence that the ordinary moments are not filler, they're the point. It's the kind of message that feels especially pointed coming from someone who once lived inside a reality TV machine. Jeremy's current public footprint reads like a deliberate pivot away from spectacle and toward something slower, more personal, more anchored. That choice becomes even more concrete in the most verifiable, career-shaping development of the year. In early December, reputable publishing news confirms a major deal tied directly to Jeremy and Audrey. Waterbrook inks a 4-book world rights agreement with them, and the first title is already named. These Are the Days, 12 Biblical Values That Add Meaning and Magic to Childhood, slated for summer 2027. The concept is structured and deliberate. a month-by-month framework meant to help parents instill biblical values in their kids, shaped around the rhythms of the year. And it doesn't stop there. The next 3 books are planned as children's adventure stories that carry the same principles. It's not a fleeting project. It reads like a long-term blueprint for the kind of family mission they keep hinting at in every post. Even the lighter press around Jeremy this year fits the pattern of a life lived in public, but on his own terms now. A late November media piece focuses on a bold style switch-up and the internet's playful comparisons, but it lands more like a footnote than a headline, because the bigger story, the one Jeremy keeps emphasizing, is that he's building something quieter and more lasting. This year, Jeremy isn't chasing the biggest moment in the room. He's shaping the room itself. Marriage, parenting, values, and the steady choice to keep showing up in the middle of it all.